Hey everybody, it's Joe again. I apologize for the delay. I'm going to have to do 2 boxes this month because I was out of commission. I was actually in the hospital. I had to have some emergency surgery, and they drilled my brain. So we'll see how that affects how well I can remember this trivia stuff. For those who are new or need a refresher, my name's Joe and I write a lot about pop culture. I read way too much about pop culture, and I think I've seen every movie ever made. I also will be teaching a course on pop culture, on the legal history of comics, and to help creators out through a place called Comics Experience. But I'm not going to sell that here. I want to talk about this. I've been challenged once again this month to open 2 boxes now. I'm assuming it's March and April because we're in May. I think the boxes come at the end of the month instead of the beginning, but I could be wrong. And these are the Geek boxes from BAM. Neither of these are comped. I pay for them. So, but I love them and I get them. And I haven't filmed it yet, but I still have, about 5 Ultra boxes that I haven't even opened yet. That I'm going to do maybe after this and I can post them. But I am going to do 2 just because it's easier. Hopefully I won't take as long as usual since I tend to ramble. All right. I've decided to cut them in advance this time after I knocked the camera over last time. So, first, band paper. Everybody loves band paper. Well, that's neat. That is a pin. That's a Dalek from Doctor Who. I talked about Doctor Who in a prior one of these where I went through all the incarnations of Doctor Who, so I will not bore you with that again, especially for a pin. Needless to say, Jodie Whittaker is reaching the end of her tenure as Doctor Who, and the one thing really annoys me about Doctor Who is that they always tell us in advance when they'll be ending, when the companions are leaving, and who the new one is. And we already know who the new Doctor is. I'm not crazy about knowing all of that stuff in advance, but whatever. I still love watching it. I think Moffat is returning to write it, so that'll be really cool. And I'm looking forward to it. Daleks. Actually, there's a really, really great, it's a couple things. One is there's a Mystery Science Theater, or whatever they call it now, riff tracks about the Dalek Doctor Who episode, which is it's actually my first introduction to Doctor Who was the Dalek episode with everybody's favorite Doctor. See, look, the brain surgery is already getting me. And his companion, who was also a Time Lord at the time. Alrighty, well, whatever. It's a pin. I'm going to move on. I see 3 pins. I'm not entirely sure why there are so many pins in here. 3 more, I should say. That is a Transformer. Actually, let me pull them all out in case they're related. Maybe they're 2 Doctor Who's. Oh, they were. The other one is the TARDIS. The TARDIS is the ship that Doctor Who travels around in. His actual name is not Doctor Who. We don't know his name. It's not translatable. But the TARDIS is locked in a police box because of a circuit problem, which I guess happens through everyone. And actually, Neil Gaiman wrote a great episode where the TARDIS was actually a real live human being. And then he there's a short story in his, I think it's called Trigger Point, because I think he got in trouble for the title. But there's another great Doctor Who short story in there that I think the episode was based on. So I'm a big fan of Neil. Neil's an awesome guy too. So, all right, here's that. So these are 2 Transformers. Can we see them? If I leave them here, that way my hands won't shake. All right, so what do we know about this? We know Transformers is the highest grossing media franchise of all time. It's created by Hasbro and a Japanese company that I cannot remember. Everyone thinks GoBots is a ripoff of Transformers, but GoBots actually came first. I think I'm going to mid-80s, but I'm going to go on a limb here because I think I was a freshman in high school. I think it was 84. That's when the toys first came out, and that's when the comics from Marvel came out. And I think there was I don't think. I know. I just don't know if it was 84. There was a TV show. It was part of the afternoon, and it had G.I. Joe as the same company that did G.I. Joe. They did them both. And then there was the Transformers movie. I will not sing We've Got the Touch, but that is the song from it. That movie, just for your trivia, took place in the far-flung future of the year 2005. What else do I know about the Transformers? So we know there was a Marvel series. It crossed over with G.I. Joe, right? We also know that, we also know that that was, I believe that was one of the first appearances of Spider-Man in his black costume was in that Marvel, show. We have here the two pins. The two pins are, sorry, let me get more comfortable. The two pins are obviously Megatron and Optimus Prime. Let me stall because I can't remember who does the voice of Megatron. Optimus Prime is Peter Cullen. Peter Cullen is, he's also the voice of Eeyore, which I always found pretty damn funny. That, and you can actually hear it. And then I attended a really great con where Peter Cullen did Shakespeare, but he did it as Eeyore. So that was kind of fun. I don't remember who does the voice of Megatron. It's escaping me, but he's done so many different voices. So I'll leave it at that. It's a pin, so I will stop with the pin. All right. The prop, well, that's kind of cool. That is Moon Knight, which is the new Disney Plus series. I will not talk about the Disney Plus series because I don't want to spoil it, but I will tell you about Moon Knight because I'm a comics fan and I love Moon Knight. So let me put that there so you can see it. Make sure you can see it while I talk about it. So Moon Knight is, when he first came out, he appeared in, he was a villain actually, and he came out in Werewolf by Night, I think was the name of it. I don't remember if it was the 60s or the 70s. It was probably the 70s. He had, the multiple identities came later. In the early Moon Knight, I knew him as having the identities of Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, Mark Spector, but they were just identities. They weren't personalities. That came later. I think Moon Knight was created by Doug Munch, and I forget who drew him. So co-creator to the artist. I knew my favorite Moon Knight was drawn by Bill Sienkiewicz, and Moon Knight apparently wears silver now, but back then, I'm sorry, Moon Knight wears white now, but back then Moon Knight wore silver because it used to have in the panel descriptions that he would wear his silver outfit. And then later in one of the series, one of the later creators said, well, Moon Knight's the kind of guy that wears white to go out at night and fight crime, and that shows he's crazy. So then it became white. I'll tell you, the new Disney Plus show has Oscar Isaac. I will tell you the villain in that show, played by Ethan Hawke. I won't give any spoilers away, but that character appeared in one issue of all of Moon Knight. Oscar Isaac, also not spoiling the show, but just about him. This is actually his third Marvel Universe character. He played Apocalypse in X-Men Apocalypse. He played Miguel in or Spider-Man 2099 in the Spider-Verse movie. And now he's in this. So those are his three. And of course, everyone knows him as Poe Dameron. And then, of course, if you really want a deep cut, you also might know him from Sucker Punch. He was the guy who owned the club and sang. He's on the soundtrack. The other little spoiler that is, it's not a spoiler because it didn't make it, but there was the Eternals were going to be in Moon Knight, and then they changed that. And then there's another character in Moon Knight. I won't spoil it, but that character was based on a male version of the character who was in the Invaders. It's an Egyptian character. Okay, So that's enough about Moon Knight. This is his crescent dart. He throws these. Interestingly, these are not Khonshu like in the comics. These were actually made by the people who wanted to capture the werewolf by night to help him capture him. And then over the course of all of the variations of Moon Knight, it changed. I should mention in the comics currently, he, first of all, he has a fourth personality in the comics of a little girl. Is that a fifth? No, it's four, right? Well, fifth, I guess, because you count Moon Knight, right? Moon Knight's a personality. So it's Lockley, Grant, Spectre, Moon Knight, and then a little girl. In one of the series, he also had a split personality of every one of the Avengers, because you thought he was teaming up with the Avengers. And in fact, it was all in his head. Oh, well, here you go. This is Guardians of the Galaxy. Can you see that, or is it too shiny because of the screen? So that's Guardians of the Galaxy. It is the print of this month. I actually have a personal connection with Guardians of the Galaxy. Not that I had anything to do with the creation of it, but I know one of the people who worked on it really well. I wouldn't be much of a comics historian if I didn't mention this is not the first Guardians of the Galaxy. The first Guardian of the Galaxies came out in 1969, right? And it was created by... I know Steve Gerber, of Howard the Duck fame, wrote most of the issues, but I think it was created by a guy named Arnold Drake. But that was, I know it was also drawn by Gene Colan, who is an incredible artist, rest his soul. But that was a futuristic team that was the far-flung future. I think it was the year 3000. And it was Vance, Astro, Charlie 27, Martin X, and a guy named Yondu, who is the one that survived to be in the current movies. Yes, that Yondu. The series never took off. They tried to restart it a couple of times. Basically, anytime something science fiction hit, they tried to reboot it. Like when Star Trek Next Generation came, they tried to reboot it. When Star Wars hit, they tried to reboot it. And then it never really took off. So then, this is where I know my mentor, Andy Schmidt, he's my comics mentor and actually a really good friend. He was the editor at Marvel, and he had this idea for something called Annihilation, which was a bunch of series that then fed into a larger series. One of those series was Guardians of the Galaxy, and that was written by Abnett and Lanning, wrote that series. And it basically was a whole new team made up of pre-existing Marvel characters. So they put them all together. So like Groot was actually an old monster from Thor, and Rocket Raccoon had a kids book in Marvel, and Star-Lord and Gamora were big in the Infinity titles long before that. And so that's where all that comes, and Drax as well. And so that's where that comes from. Now, I promised Andy, anytime I mention Annihilation, I have to say how dumb I was for reading that series as it came out and absolutely not figuring out who the villain is. In the words of Andy, dude, it was in the name. So that's my Andy Schmidt impersonation. All right, so this picture is Star-Lord, Chris Pratt, and Vin Diesel and Bradley Cooper. So as a Rocket and Groot. I will tell you, Groot only says, "I am Groot," and we are Groot, to be fair. He got $13 million to do that. However, he did end up saying it over 1,000 times, each time with different inflections. And he had a script where he actually knew what Groot was saying, so he knew how to do the inflection. So like in something that happens at the end of Infinity War, Groot calls Rocket father, daddy. So we know that from the script. He also did all the languages. I also can't mention Guardians of the Galaxy without my legal knowledge to point out that how fascinating it is that there's a new ride that's opening up in Disney. There's already a ride. They redid Twilight Zone Tower of Terror in Disneyland and made it Mission Breakout. But now there's a brand new Ellen's Energy Adventure, which was one of my favorite rides, closed. And that's becoming Cosmic Rewind. Well, anybody who has been to Orlando knows that the Marvel heroes are actually in Universal at Islands of Adventure. And that's because there's an agreement between Marvel and, it was between Marvel and Universal, now DC and Universal, because Disney and Universal, because Disney owns Marvel, that basically says that they have the rights to the characters for theme park attractions like east of the Mississippi. Well, that was only for characters who existed at that time. So, and also for some reason, Doctor Strange fell through the cracks. And I think I have a theory as to why. If we ever see anything for Doctor Strange, I promise I will tell you what that is. But that's why you can have the Guardians of the Galaxy on the East Coast, because they didn't exist at the time Islands of Adventure was made. Okay, that leaves us with the autograph, which is funny because, oh, it's on the front. I was going to say, there's no Beckett official on the back. Oh, well, I know who that is. That is, that's funny. It says Emily Swallows. I would have swore her name was, oh, no, Amara was her character's name, wasn't it? I'm sorry, Emily Swallow. She played a character called Amara on the 11th season of Supernatural. She also, in the words of my daughter, Supernatural's not that deep. So I'm not spoiling anything by saying she also played a character called The Darkness, because they kind of tell you that from the almost first appearance. She actually, the funny thing about Emily is she's actually from here, from where I live in Washington, D.C. She was born here. She lived in Sterling, Virginia, which is like literally 15 minutes away from me, 20 minutes away. And she worked in the State Department. And then she was discovered by her acting coach and then became a star. And so this autograph is from the Book of Boba Fett. She was also on The Mentalist. I think she played, Kim. I'm going to try a character named Kim. I don't remember her last name on The Mentalist. So she was, but this is The Mandalorian. She plays the armorer, I think is her title, or the weaponer or something. And she's in The Mandalorian, but she's also in the Book of Boba Fett. And you heard me laugh because she's actually in the Book of Boba Fett probably almost as much as Boba Fett, because she's in 3 episodes, I think. But, okay, so that's her. Yay, first box. Should we see how we did, or should we save it to the end? Let's see how we did. Okay, that's her. Emily Swallow, Supernatural. Oh, SEAL Team. I don't know what SEAL Team is. Mandalorian, and that's it. I don't know what SEAL Team is. Maybe somebody could put it in the comments what SEAL Team is. And then let's see how I did. It shouldn't be that hard. Transformers. That's the artist. I don't recognize the artist. That's the Guardians of the Galaxy. I can't tell if I got the variant because they're so close to each other. Who could tell? How can you tell if you got the variant? I have no idea. All right. Well, I'm going to assume I didn't. And then the prop is from Moon Knight, of course. Okay. Let's open the second one because I am at 17 minutes. Oh, I will speed up. All right. Oh, my God. Paper. 2 papers. BAM paper. Yay, BAM paper. Oh, something's in the bag. 1 pen. That is, I guess I can tell you my Doctor Strange thing. All right. So that's Doctor Strange. So I will tell you first, Doctor Strange is also he's in the shows for the Disney parks on the East Coast. And I think that's because at the time he was licensed to somebody else. So that was it. So, and who is he? Well, let me tell you about Doctor Strange first, and then I'll probably, in the course of the story, I will mention it. Let's see. Doctor Strange was created by, a lot of people think he was created by Stan Lee. He actually was not. He was created by Steve Ditko, who sent the idea to Stan Lee, and it was one of those rare things in like the lawsuits when like Marvel was trying to acquire all their licenses, that Stan Lee actually wrote something to the file that said, oh no, Steve Ditko came and gave me the idea for this. So Steve Ditko is the official creator of Doctor Strange. Stan Lee wrote Doctor Strange for like years in Strange Tales with Steve Ditko drawing it. Steve Ditko also is the co-creator of Spider-Man. 1964, I think, 65 is the year. He's dead currently in the comics. I hope that that is not a spoiler, since it was a 20-part series entitled The Death of Doctor Strange. Of course, it could have been done as a one-shot, probably with the amount of plot in those 20 issues, or at least if they wanted to stretch it, a 3 or 4 issue series. I don't judge much. Actually, I judge a little more now. So as I was saying, when they opened the park, well, as we know, a famous actor plays Doctor Strange, and that actor is Peter Hooton. Okay, you've never heard of Peter Hooton. Peter Hooton actually played Doctor Strange in a movie in 1978 that was supposed to go air on TV and be a huge hit. Stan Lee says, well, they aired it up against Roots, so no one ever saw it. So as a result, it was based on, like, at the time, The Incredible Hulk was a really big show, and Wonder Woman was a really big show. So it was in the vein of that. You wanted to do it, and Captain America had a series too, a series of movies. And even Hammond did Spider-Man, but that wasn't a big hit either because of special effects. So what happened was the Wooten series never picked up, and so it just died and the license lapsed. And then somebody else got the license. I don't remember if it was Full Moon, but I know Full Moon ultimately released it. And that is where I think the license was when Universal signed its deal, which is why when it reverted back to Disney, you could have Doctor Strange on the East Coast. Even though if you go to Islands of Adventure, I don't want anyone to be screaming and yelling that I'm wrong, Doctor Strange is actually in some of the artwork. And I think that's because he was part of the Defenders, which they did have the right to. So maybe they didn't have him individually, because then every time you see him, he's with the Hulk and Silver Surfer. So I think it's because he's part of the Defenders. But the second version was a movie that was supposed to be Doctor Strange, and that was in 1992. But the license expired before they started the movie, so that movie actually became something called Dr. Mordrid with Jeffrey Combs. And Jack Kirby, who was like one of the greatest Marvel artists ever, actually worked on the concept art for that series. But it came out, it was called Dr. Mordrid, came out from Full Moon in 1992. Jeffrey Combs, you may know, he is the Reanimator. And he's played 9 different Star Trek roles. I can't name them all in my present state, but I know he played Wyoon and Brunt on DS9, Shan on Enterprise, and probably a bunch of other people. So this Doctor Strange is obviously the Benedict Cumberbatch version. It could also be Doctor Strange from What If, because he does look a little haggard. I've seen the movie. I saw the movie early. I will not spoil the movie. I will say one thing about the movie is I was pleasantly surprised that even after all this time, Marvel is still able to fool me with marketing. I had no idea what the movie was actually. I had an idea what it was about, but I had no idea. I'll also I've mentioned Shurram Gora, who's the character. There's a toy for him, but he's in the commercial. He's the big squid guy. They actually had to change his name because they realized that Shurram Gora was, if I'm saying his name right, was actually a Conan villain, and they only license Conan. They don't own it. And so they had to change the name, and I think he's called like Dimensional Monster now in the credits. So I can also tell you one other thing about about Doctor Strange, and that is I don't care what anyone says, you do not need to watch What If. You don't even need to watch Loki, despite the fact that multiverse is in the title. But those are both very good shows, so you should watch them anyway. All right, that's enough for a pin. Here is a cool bag. What is in this cool bag? Oh, something I know nothing about. Okay, this is Judge Dredd. That's his badge. That looks like the Keith Urban badge as opposed to the Arnold Schwarzenegger badge. Let's see what I know about Judge Dredd. I know I have never read it in my life. I think he was created by John Wagner and drawn by some artist who I don't remember. He first appeared, it was either the first or second. I learned this, by the way, researching other things for other things. That's how I know these facts, by the way. I know he was either the first or second issue of 2000 AD, which is a UK magazine that's a lot like our Heavy Metal, except that it's really popular. Not saying Heavy Metal isn't really popular, but I mean, it sells like hotcakes over there. I will also tell you that 2000 AD has a great new writer submission program. And I can personally say they have rejected me multiple times through their new writer submission program. And I was pretty proud of some of the stuff. So a lot of the stuff I submitted to them was later published in the U.S., but they didn't want anything to do with it. One, I think I even won an award for, and so their bar is pretty high. There are 2 Judge Dredd movies. The first one stars Sylvester Stallone. Do I really need to say who he is? So Sylvester Stallone played Rocky and Rambo in the 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s. And now he plays, well, Rocky and Rambo. And he's also in The Expendables, where he kind of plays Rocky and Rambo. Okay, I'm just kidding. I actually met Sylvester Stallone at a non-comics event. I actually went to something with Tony Robbins, a Tony Robbins like self-help event, and he was one of the speakers there. So I got to talk to him about. He's a really, really smart guy, Sylvester Stallone. You should, if you're interested in that, you should read up on his bio, and especially how Rocky came about, because it's kind of fascinating. But it's a good story of perseverance. The second Judge Dredd movie, which is what I actually think this badge is from, starred Carl Urban. He is a super amazing, versatile actor. He's played Dr. McCoy. You probably know him as Dr. McCoy. He's currently Billy Butcher in The Boys. He was in, he played Man and Machine with the detective and the cop that was a robot. No, sorry, Man and Machine, I'm dating myself. The Man and Machine was too old. Came out in the Miami Vice era. This one came out in the 90s. This one, it was the other one. It was called Almost Human. I think he played Detective Kenix, something like that. And I'm showing off now. He was Julius Caesar in those Hercules and Xena TV shows that were syndicated. If you've ever seen them, they end with the credits and they go, oh, which then come from Sam Raimi. So let's tie it back to Doctor Strange, who's the current director of Doctor Strange. I'm just showing off. The second movie was much more serious, as in the first one, I didn't even do it. He's like, I'm the law. That's Sylvester Stallone. The second movie is much more serious. It had Lena Headey as the villain in it. And it had somebody who is current, I forgot who the girl, who plays as the woman who's in it. She's in something else currently, another genre show that I can't remember. So that's it. I will tell you that that's all you really know, except that this is some badge because you can't wear it. There's no pin. So I guess you just put it in a case. So I will move that to the side. This says, oh no. Oh, I guess there was another Doctor Strange pin. I was supposed to get the Eye of Agamotto. The Eye of Agamotto in the comics was given to him by it was just a tool that he had in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's actually one of the Infinity Stones. It's the Time Stone. But now he still wears it, so figure that out. Oh, well, that's cool. And another one that is the new Harry Potter. I'm assuming this is the new movie. I want to call it Forgotten Beasts of Eld, but that is not that book. This is Fantastic Beasts. And the new one is The Secret of Dumbledore? Is that the new movie? So he's our favorite Hufflepuff. He's got, what's the new movie called? Forgotten Beasts and the really, 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 really long unedited script. Okay, I'm being mean. His name's Newt Scamander. I have not seen the new movie yet. And the reason for that is I really did like the first 2 movies. I thought in each one there was a good half hour. Unfortunately, those movies were 2 hours and 15 minutes each. And then the new one is much, much longer than that. So I'm waiting for the home release so I can maybe do it in breaks. What do I know about Newt and his book? So I got the original Forgotten Beasts and Where to Find Them. That was a charity book that was released part of Comic Relief. It was released with another book called Quidditch Through the Ages. It was written by J.K. Rowling to raise money. And she also drew the illustrations in it, I think. On a personal note, I met J.K. Rowling at the White House Easter egg roll. And I knew she was going to be there, so I gave her a copy of my novel Sky Girl, because one of the pull quotes on the book said, Joe Sergi, which was my name, that's my real name, does for superheroines what J.K. Rowling does for wizards. I gave it to her, and I'm sure she promptly threw it in the garbage. But there you go. That's my connection. And just in case you think I'm bitter, and that's why I'm not seeing the movie or knowing anything about it, allow me to flex my Harry Potter cred. This is a Niffler. Nifflers are those guys, they steal everything. It was or we could call him MacGuffin in the first movie, because he brings about the whole plot in the first movie. This is a demiguise, who is, they're invisible. This is a doxy, which is they think they're fairies, but they're not. They're like the mosquitoes of the magic world. That's Bowtruckles. Where did he go? I just saw him a second ago. Where is he? The little flower guy. He's in here somewhere. He's blending. Bowtruckles is the little plant guy. Oh, here he is. He's on his finger. The Bowtruckles is the little plant guy. That's his like helper monkey, essentially. And this guy is from where the wild things are, but I'm going to guess that he's the Asian cat from the second movie, whose name is the Zauer. He is the Zauer. So there's my Harry Potter cred. This is actually I think this is the suitcase world in which they all live in. Oh, I almost knocked the camera over. That would have been bad for all of us. All right. So there's my Harry Potter cred. Before I do that, the Newt is played by Eddie Raymond. He does a lot of period pieces. He's won an Oscar, right? He played Stephen Hawking in The Theory of Everything. And he can sing, because he's also in Les Mis. All right. Finally, the last item at 31 minutes. Oh, it's a spoiler, because the paper is the right way. I'll try not to see it in the box. All right. So this is, I don't know what this is. The Red Skull? Is that what this is? I think it's the Red Skull. I can't tell. Is that good? Can you see it if I do that? So that's the Red Skull. I don't know what Red Skull that is. Okay, so I can go by the autograph. It says Red Skull. The autograph says Red Skull. So given that the Red Skull is not a real person, I'm going to assume that is the Marvel Cinematic Universe Red Skull, right? And that is, let me think about this. Hugo Weaving played him the first time, but I doubt that that's Hugo Weaving. He's been played by 2 or 3 actors. I say that, I don't know for sure, because I don't know who played him in What If. But okay, so the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the first one was Hugo Weaving, who played him in Captain America. He also played, Hugo Weaving's famous for playing Agent Smith. Hello, Mr. Anderson. He was in the Matrix. He did not reprise his role in Infinity War to play the Red Skull, who's also, I think he's called the Stone Keeper. That's his title in the credits. But that's because he first claimed he wasn't interested in the role, and I swear I read something recently that said it was about money, that's why they couldn't work the money out. But I don't want to start rumors, so don't quote me on the money part. I also know, and this is really funny because, again, a personal connection, that he did not return to the Matrix because he was doing a play. The play was called The Visit. And why I know that is I have tickets to see The Visit, except they were canceled. I was going to see it at the National Theater, but it was canceled due to COVID recently. It was supposed to be, I think, in May. It was supposed to be like 2 weeks ago, I think my tickets were for. And they canceled it. But I digress, because this is not Hugo Weaving. So now I'm telling you all about a person who this isn't. This is probably, I don't even know the name. I think it's Ross Marquand plays the second one. Marquand, something like that. And he's Aaron on The Walking Dead. He's also a mortal man on the Invincible animated series, because I remember seeing him on a panel for that. You should definitely check that series out if you have not seen it. It's awesome. And then he is, I think he does a voice in Doctor Strange, but the new one, but I won't say what it is because it spoils it. But he also did the voice in What If. Wait, I'm changing my answer. There are only two people who played him because he does another voice in What If. And why would you do one voice and not the one you actually played in the movie? So he must play the Red Skull in What If as well. All right, I digress. That's it. We're at 34 minutes. I'm calling it. So that is who I think that is. I think it's, I probably said his name wrong, but Ross, we'll call him Ross M. Marquand. Ross Marquand. There he is. He is known for Walking Dead and What If. They list him for What If, not Infinity War. Isn't that interesting? But it says also known for. So why does it not say that you would think? All right, I don't know. I don't get it. He said, here it is, the Stonekeeper, Infinity War. So that's right. The prop is Judge Dredd. Doesn't say which one. Those are the prints. That is Fantastic Beasts. And yay. Yay me. Got them all. Sorry for going so long. It's 35 minutes. 2 boxes. Double your bang. Double your buck. And I will talk to you guys next month, I hope. In between then, I might have some really good ones. I have to admit, I opened one of them because the box was huge. And I will tell you, it was a sword. It was kind of awesome. I couldn't resist. It was like a giant. I actually thought it was the hoverboard from Back to the Future because that is the one thing that I would love, the one that's signed by Michael J. Fox. But it was a sword, and it was signed by the guy who does All Might. So it was really cool. It was from One Piece. But you will see that and whatever else is in 4 or 5 other boxes. So with that, keep on geeking, everybody. All right, bye.